Today on Detroit Muscle, we're all about the looks, baby. We're gonna take a plain Jane Nova and show you how you can gussy it up and get it ready for the prom.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. We're gonna be working on a new project that's just for today in the form of this 72 Nova. Now, at first glance, it's a really nice car, but in reality, it could use a little bit of help.
That's right. If you start eyeballing this old car, it's actually a pretty plain Jane looking ride. And it's showing its age. The trim's dented up, the glass is scratched up, and the front and rear bumper, well, the chrome ain't so great on it.
Right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little bit of time and a few parts and take this thing from a C-level cruiser to an A+ beauty.
The first thing we're gonna address is the hood. Now that's a factory style hood with power bulges on it, and it looks pretty cool. But what we're saying is you'd probably, well, kind of get lost in the crowd. So we're gonna jazz it up just a bit. This is how we're gonna do that. We got this Cowl Induction hood from AMD, Auto Metal Direct, and they use their own tooling to make GM licensed replacement metal for a lot of their cars.
That's one thing that's changed in the last few years. Cars that used to be considered a lost cause are now completely restorable because you can now get the parts to do it. In fact, Auto Metal Direct offers just about every piece you would need to rebuild this entire car, along with lots of other models from GM and Mopar.
With the old hood out of the way, you're probably thinking that we're gonna start fitting that new hood, but that's not the case. What we're actually gonna do is build something that GM never did. That is a working and functional Cowl Induction hood on a Nova.
Now, in order to make our Cowl Induction hood functional, we got this kit from Auto Metal Direct. Now, there's a bunch of these different kits available if you're restoring a car with a Cowl Induction hood. Comes with all the things you need, including this switch and the actuator. And speaking of those, what that operates is this flapper here that mounts to the back of the hood. And when you go wide open throttle, opens this up, sucks in the air. Now, our hood doesn't have a place for these flappers, so we're not going to use that. Our hood does have all these holes, so ours will be functional all the time. The next order of business will be take this air cleaner and see if it'll fit. And it looks like this PCV tube is hitting here. We have to cut it out. It looks like there's another spot we can move it to right here. Try that. All right, so the way this tube is installed here, it looks like they punched a hole and then stuck the tube in and welded it to it. So we need to cut around this way.
Now the reason that this kit doesn't just fit lickety-split on that Nova is because, for one thing, it's made for a '69 Camaro. It replicates the ZL2 option for a cowl hood, which you could get on them in '69 for $79. Also, it was made to fit a Q-Jet style carb, and that Nova is sporting an AFB style Edelbrock.
Now, with the hole cut, we can do a test fit, along with checking out which direction the tube needs to go in order for this to work. We'll mark it so we can get it welded up. We're also going to make a couple of notches here, so this will fit down on the carburetor. Now, to reinforce this area where we're going to weld in our PCV pipe, we welded in a washer here. Now all we need to do is bring our pipe up in here and weld it into place. Our ESOB Rebel welder makes short work of this task. We also need to weld in a plug where the tube used to be, so that our air cleaner will seal up. We'll use a carbide bit to whittle out those notches that are getting in the way of that carb inlet. Nice. A little bit of black Dupli-Color will doctor up the looks of the piece for us. Then we can set the hood in place. The filter and lid are next. Now, the way this works, the air comes in through the back of the hood, through this hole and down the sides of the filter. The way this seals to the hood is with this flange and seal here. Now, even though the hood is stepped, that's why there's a thick seal here, so when the hood closes, smashes the seal, makes it all seal up tight. Now we just need to make sure it fits. All right, looks like we're in good shape.
Still ahead, we'll dive into the wizarding world of paint matching.
Hey guys, while you were gone, we took our hood and sprayed on a couple coats of primer because we wanted to make sure this thing turns out really nice. And the reason it looks odd now is because I wiped on some guide coat. Now we get to do everybody's favorite, a little more sanding. Well, here we go. Remember that using the X pattern to sand like this will give you a better, more even finish than simply scratching back and forth. All right guys, with our hood all sanded, we're ready to move on to the paint match side of things. But that's where we kind of hit a problem because the guy that owns the car told us it was one of two colors, hot red and victory red. Problem with that is neither one of those colors are correct. So we're gonna have to do something a little bit different. Now there's a multitude of reasons why these two colors may not be right. Heck, we don't know if the guy that owns the car even got told the right information to begin with. Or the car may have lived majority of its life outside in the sun and the colors faded down a bit. But either way, there's still hope. And that hope comes in the form of this guy, Brian Smith with Single Source. He's pulled our tail out of the fire a bunch of times. Brian, what you got in the goodie bag?
Well, we're going to start with the PPG's Color Eye, which is our spectrophotometer. That's what we're going to use to put on the hood, take a 5-angle picture of it. Going to read that 5 times. After that, we're going to take the camera back, put it in our computer, download it, and it's going to spit out a formula that recommends the closest match.
Good deal.
This is a really cool little machine, and it takes the guesswork out of paint matching for us. This is one of the reasons that we use Single Source for our paint needs.
Brian's got our color all analyzed and we're ready to start doing some spray out panels. Now we got to do that to make sure that we dial it in just right. They have a light gray and a dark gray, but we're going to go with the light because it's pretty close to our hood already.
Since we're actually trying to match this color and not blend it, we're going to do the best we can get for our color accuracy. So what we need to do is we're going to use the spray out card. We're going to spray a certain number of coats on there and check it against the color, because every time you put a coat on this, it's going to change. So we need to make sure we get the proper number of coats to match the color that's actually on our car.
Each one of these cards is going to get their first 3 coats simultaneously. The first is on, and once they're dry, we'll go ahead and hit them again. Then we'll leave one with 3 coats, give another 4 coats, and then take the last one all the way to 7. All right, we got our spray outs all done and they're dry. That's 3 coats, 4 coats, and then 7 coats. And you can obviously see that one's redder. Well, the color's pretty close, but the sheen's off just a bit.
Well, I got something I think was going to fix that. We're going to use this Quick Check Clear to simulate clear coat, to check the color without having to actually put clear on it. That way, if the color's not right, we can go right back over it with base coat, because this stuff will evaporate and won't harm the finish.
Go ahead.
This is what the color actually will represent once it's cleared.
Well, looks like 3 to 4 coats is going to get us where we need to be. Looks like you pulled us out of the fire again, man.
Well, man, that's what we do, man. Thanks for the opportunity.
After the break, we'll show you how to install some nice new glass on a Nova.
Hey, while you were gone, we dragged our hood into the booth and got it all ready to be painted. Then Tom laid down that red base coat, which Single Source mixed for us to match the car. The hood gets 3 coats of it, then it gets cleared.
Well, our paint looks pretty good, and that Cowl Induction definitely does add that pizzazz that we was looking for. But now it's time to move on to something else.
There's a few other things we're going to address on our Nova, and one of those is the glass. This back glass has seen better days. It looks original, and it's got scratches both on the inside and outside. There's some pretty deep scratches and gouges here along the top, so we need to get that out. Another thing is the trim. This trim, it's also seen better days. There's scratches, and there's even some dents and dings. Luckily for us, this has to come off before we can get the glass out.
Now, you may be a little bit worried about ordering glass through the mail and it getting torn up before it gets to your doorstep. But you don't have to worry about that with Auto Metal Direct. They go above and beyond to make sure it gets to you without it getting damaged. They separate the glass with this heavy-duty cardboard and that egg crate foam, 360 degrees all the way around. That way you're protected. What we got here is an entire glass kit for the Nova, which comes from AMD with every piece on the car. We'll need to start getting that trim off, beginning with this piece that you open the trunk to get to.
Now, to get the rest of this trim off this back glass, we're going to be using this trim removal tool. This is really necessary to use because if you don't use it, not only could you damage the trim, but you could also damage the glass or the clips, which we're going to be reusing, or even the paint. The way to use this is find the clips, then turn the tool to pop them loose from the trim. All right, so we got our trim off our back glass. Next thing to do, get that glass out.
Excuse me, sir. Don't run off. I'm probably gonna need your help. Now, to get this back glass out, we're gonna use a couple of tools. One of them is gonna be this. It's called a pull knife. The other one is kind of like a glorified long wheelbase utility knife. But let's hope we don't have to use that one too much. Now, whenever I stick this in here, I'm gonna try to hook it down off behind the glass. What you want to do is lean the handle back just a bit so that when you pull it, it will steer the blade right up next to the glass. Also, you want to turn it in some so that when you go to pull, this edge butts up against the glass as well. This lets you cut up against the glass instead of trying to plow through the rubber or urethane. Push, push, push. There you go.
Now we got to go after the rest of that urethane with a razor blade to get this thing cleaned up. Then some glass cleaner and a paint stick will finish the job.
We picked up a rope of soft butyl to hold our glass in place. Be patient when you're laying this stuff down, or you're gonna have a real mess to deal with.
So you see here where the seal's not touching the glass, but as we push down, it makes the seal. We'll grab some Scott glass towels to get this new window cleaned back up. They don't use any binders or glues in the base sheet, which ensures that you get a clean, streak-free finish.
After the break, it's the cherry on top. All new trim.
Hey guys, while you were gone, we went ahead and got our trim installed on our rear glass. Looks really nice. That's because it's new. Speaking of new trim, check out what Tom's got up front.
What we have is a whole bunch of shiny pieces we're going to upgrade onto our Nova. Now, if you remember back, we had mentioned that this thing could definitely use some help in that department. Looky here, the window trim is all scratched up and dented to heck. The bumpers, well, they're scratched and bent too. And the danged old mirror plumb fell off. Just look at that chrome.
We went back to Auto Metal Direct to get our hands on a whole boatload of new bright work for that old Chevy. That includes a set of shiny new bumpers, front and rear. We went ahead and plugged the new marker lights that they sent us into the new bumper.
These new pieces look so much better than that mangled up flim flam of a bunch of trim that it had on it.
Now, as for the rear, we want to give it as much bling as we've given the front. And we're going to do that with this rear trim panel. Now, this is a factory option, but our car didn't come with it, so we're just going to add it in. The old bumper was in the way, plus it's getting swapped anyway, so it gets removed first. I laid down some tape so that I can mark where the holes need to be for this new trim panel without marking on the paint. Once that's bolted down, we can plug the new bumper into place.
With a little bit of time and some nice parts, we've managed to really transform the up-close looks of this old bow tie. She's just about ready for the car shows now.
But there's one more thing that we need to address: the wheels. Now, these are factory steel rallies, and though they're not hideous, they have seen better days. But check out our new ones.
Now, for a set of wheels and tires, we wanted to go with something that was truly muscly, if you will. So we got a set of these BF Goodrich Radial TAs and a set of those super shiny, super awesome Cragar SSs. Those BF Goodriches are a performance street tire, available in 14 and 15-inch varieties. And of course, we've got these bad boys mounted letters out, son.
As for those Cragars, these need no introduction. These 50th anniversary SSs are 15 by 7 all the way around. And since they were originally developed for the drag racing scene, we know that they're good to go for performance applications. You're not going to find a more beloved wheel for original muscle. And 50 years later, they still look great.
Check out what she looked like before. How about that aftershot, boy?
Well, you saw us replace the bumpers on that Chevy today, but Auto Metal Direct offers them for lots of other vehicles, including Mopars. Take this one for example. It's for a 71 Roadrunner, Satellite, or GTX. It's made of 13 gauge steel and is a direct OE fit. AMD uses their own tooling to make these components, so nobody else offers them like this. Of course, they're available in front and rear.
In addition to snazzing up the look of a vehicle like we did today, you know, we like to talk about making them run great as well. One thing that can do a lot to get you there is picking up a flamethrower distributor from Pertronix. This one's for a small block Chevy and includes their latest solid-state ignition system, the Igniter 3. It replaces the need for an external ignition box with multi-spark through the entire RPM range. That will improve your combustion. You can also use this to set your rev limiter, and it's accurate plus or minus 50 RPM. And it's made of that great looking billet aluminum, so it's gonna look as good as it runs. Speaking of running, we've got to run for now, but we'll see you guys around.